Okay, so all of the organelles that we just talked about that contain a membrane around them, as well as the plasma membrane that we talked about earlier, all of those are components of what we call the endomembrane system. The only thing that we have not talked about yet that is a component of the endomembrane system is the nuclear envelope, but we will get to that later. So collectively, all these membranous organelles and plasma membranes in the nuclear envelope come together and they function as an entire unit to do various things such as production of different molecules and chemicals, degradation of other molecules and chemicals. They act as vesicles for storage and help with export of different substances. And we talked about how they can degrade potentially harmful substances when we talked about peroxisomes and how they can neutralize free radicals. So the next thing that we need to move on to is the cytoskeleton. And the cytoskeleton is basically a network of rods that runs through the cytosol and provides support to the cell. So just like our skeletal system made up of our bones and muscles and ligaments supports and provides the foundation for our structure, so does the cytoskeleton when we talk about the structure of a cell. And it's made up of 3 different components. So we have microfilaments, intermediate filaments, and microtubules. So the thinnest when we're talking about diameter is going to be our microfilaments, and these are made up of a protein called actin. So each one of these blueberry looking structures over here is one actin subunit, and they polymerize to form these semi-flexible strands. Microfilaments are going to be responsible for the cleavage furrow, so the indentation in the plasma membrane. So this is a cleavage furrow right here when our cytoplasm goes to divide after we undergo replication. They're also going to be helpful when we talk about changing the shape of a cell or the cell flexibility as well as their motility. When we hit the muscular system, you'll see the microfilaments are a major filament within skeletal muscle cells, and they're going to be the ones that are actually shortening in length so that we can undergo muscle contraction. Our next one is intermediate filaments. They're not really composed of something specific that you need to know, like our microfilaments were composed of actin. Just kind of understand that they form this basically rope-like structure, and this rope-like structure that they form is going to help the cell resist the pulling forces that it's constantly being exposed to, especially if we're talking about in areas of our epithelial cells that make up our skin. And the final cytoskeletal element that we need to cover is the microtubules. These are the largest of the 3 filaments that we have, and they're composed of something called tubulin. And when tubulin polymerizes, it doesn't form a rope-like or thread-like structure. Instead, it forms these hollow tubes. And a lot of these microtubules are going to extend from something called the centromere, which we will cover next. And they're going to be helpful in shaping the cell as well as distributing organelles, because a lot of these organelles are actually going to be bound to these microtubules, and we'll see how they play a role in separating the chromosomes and pulling them to opposite poles of the cell during cellular division.